Hi, my name's Greg Dunaway, and this is the video for the final project for CNG202. So first off, as you can see, I've got my two VMs here, VM1 and VM2. Everything is set up on VM1. VM2 is just the location for the backups to be copied to, at least for the purposes of my project right now. So let's just start by moving to the directory that contains the script. That would be var lib mysql. If we take a look here too, this will kind of be important later on. You can see everything in here is owned by the MySQL group, including the backups folder here at the top. And that'll be important later on for purposes of managing access to these files, being able to run and view backups. So let's go ahead and actually the two scripts that I've created in here are auto-mysql-dump.sh and finalproject.sh. And the auto MySQL dump is just an extra script that we will use for one of the portions here. And then final project is the actual menu script itself. So let's just go ahead and jump into that. All right, so I have some information that comes up here. The first thing that shows up is it checks to see if that MySQL auto MySQL dump script is located in the cron.daily folder. And if it doesn't see it there, then it knows that auto backups are disabled as far as my scripts are concerned. So the other things it will do is let you know if VM2 is up or down. Right now it's up, so it's available for backups. So let's just go ahead and enable daily auto backups. So first thing it does is it checks to make sure the backup folder exists in the first place, because if this is the first time you've run it, it might not exist yet. And after it does that, it will echo out this message if it is successful in copying the auto MySQL dump script to the cron.daily. So if we go ahead and go to so we can see that the script is there. And now we'll go ahead and do disable auto backups, which just kind of removes that script from here. So if we check again, it's no longer in the cron.daily folder. And then, re-enable it again. And now it's back. So that's how I kind of managed that part. I do have the option to run one-time backups as well. And it actually names the backup file that comes out slightly differently, which lets you kind of manage log files between ones that you've specifically initiated and ones that are just being auto-generated every day. Because I assume that the ones you create, by coming in here and running a one-time backup are probably going to be a little bit more important than just the auto-generated backups. So we want a one-time command. So MySQL gave an error here. That's the first time I've seen that. Either way, it looks like it was successful. Well, actually, it wasn't successful in creating the snapshot. Interesting. All right, so MySQLD had started hanging on a restart, so I tried to kill MySQLD and start it back up, but it was still hung. So I just restarted the VM. And now it should be good. So let's give it a shot here. VM2 is still up and enabled. Okay, so let's just run that one-time backup now. All right. So no errors this time. That's great. Snapshot, that's the file we just created using the one-time backup, and that's what allows me to differentiate between auto-generated files and ones I've created manually. So these will be automatically cleaned up by the script that's running in the background, the auto script, and it'll trim that down to five of the older files every time it runs. So, and it ignores the manually created ones. Also, this is the output for the SCP command, all this transfer data over here. That's actually every time the auto script is run and every time you do a one-time backup, it SCPs all of the backup folder to the second VM. So that's good. Let's just skip to option 5 real quick, which just lists out the auto-generated backups right now. And that's just kind of good to see, you know, without having to go and view the backups folder. And if we do, so the fourth option here, I guess I'll just go ahead and enter it. The user you enter will gain access to the var-lib MySQL folder and the ability to run this script, which is in that folder. So not only that, the person that gets added here will also gain the ability to start, stop, and restart the MySQLD process. So first we will just try with my user as is, and it should be with no password. After entering a username here, they'll be able to run those commands without a password, the systemctl. So we'll just run groups. You can see I'm not part of the MySQL group yet. So if I do systemctl restart MySQLD, you see it prompts for the password. Oops, let me add the sudo in there. Well, you can see it's obviously if I enter my password it will work, but you can see it's prompting for a password, so I know it is not working yet. And if we run via sudo here, I'll show you that entry that I have. Here we go. So it's actually these three up here that'll allow the systemctl restart, which is nice. This one here too, sorry. I was experimenting with a couple different ways to do this because I was getting a little thrown off. But I believe the bottom one is actually the one we want. So let's go ahead and enter my username here. And then I have it list out the groups that I'm a member of. That way you can see that I've now been added to the MySQL group. So, all right, now that I've logged out and logged back in, you'll see that I am in the MySQL group. So now that that's happened, I can run this command, systemctl restart MySQLD, and no password required. So that's good. So I could hypothetically give other users access to run MySQL backups and run that menu script and, do all sorts of things with MySQL at that point. And actually the longest part about, one of the hardest things about getting this script to work is that you need to be a root user or just a user of MySQL, but running the command to run the MySQL dump usually requires you to enter the password. So I had to set up a configuration file for MySQL. Yeah, so you can see here that I've set it to be read and write only by root. And that's a really good security measure considering it's just got the root password, not for the computer, but just for the MySQL database. It's got the root user password in there. So if anybody got that, they could, ruin all the data in the MySQL database. So definitely important that even though users are being added to the MySQL group and they're running those commands from the varlib MySQL folder, they still, even then, cannot come here and look at the MySQL configuration file, which stores the password. You still would have to be root on the actual system itself to get access to that, which makes the vi sudo thing even more important, so that you can delegate out access to those specific commands with MySQL, but not give people full root access unless they're actual system admins. But yeah, I think that is everything. It's a short little tool that I made mostly to dip my toes into MySQL. And I mean, I still don't know anything really about it other than getting it set up and being able to run some really basic commands on it. But I think this has been really useful, especially finding ways to manipulate files and outputs to get, the specific thing you're looking for. It's kind of cool how many different ways you can do it with options on certain commands, or, piping through grep and awk and all sorts of things, especially clearing out the files, the backup files every 5, not letting the logs or auto-generated backups pile up past 5 was kind of an interesting problem that I'd never considered before, because I know like the temp folder kind of does it automatically and you don't really think about it, but log files are always clearing themselves out like that. So I thought it would be smart to do that in my own. Anyways, thank you for watching, and thanks for teaching another great course. Hope you have a good summer.